edition of our monthly leadership podcast on Leading as Leaders. I'm your host, Avery Nesbitt. Hey, we're doing something different this month, as you can tell. One, podcast is a little later than it normally is, but it's going to be worth it. Right now, we're sitting with Matt and Amanda Robin. They are the directors of youth ministry up at Victory Hamilton Mill, an amazing church up in Beaufort, Georgia, part of the Victory World Church family. And they're going to be joining us today on the second part of a series that we're in called The Most. And if you haven't heard last month we did the most, was it over or underrated? We did the most overrated leadership qualities last month. And if you haven't heard that one, go back and check that one out. It was amazing. This month, we're doing the most underrated leadership qualities. So Matt and Amanda, thanks for joining us. And how you guys doing?
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Doing great.
Hey, this is going to be fantastic. So, like I said, we're in the middle of this series. It's kind of a two-parter, and I'd love to get you guys' opinion on this. You both have been in youth ministry for over 10 years. You've seen hundreds of leaders across different states and different venues, and we'd love to get each one of you to sort of weigh in on this the most. Amanda, you first. From your perspective, what do you think is the most underrated leadership quality out there? Go.
All right. So I would say the most underrated leadership quality would be integrity. And I remember when Matt and I were when we first met, we were in Bible school together. One of the things our mentors told us was, others may, I may not. And that has really been our mantra in our own personal lives, in our marriage, how we do ministry, how we raise our kids is, it kind of reminds me of the verse that says, like, we're able to do everything, like we can do it, but is it beneficial to you? And so we've kind of carried that throughout our entire, like I said, marriage with ministry, especially because a lot of times in ministry or however you're leading, you see people that they start making those small choices where they want to compromise with their integrity. And even though they might see that that's small choices, like eventually that adds up into snowball effect and becomes failure or whatever might happen. So I would say that was probably like the biggest thing for us is learning that and just learning to choose, because we live in a world where everybody wants to be like the best. And the temptation can come to cut corners or to take shortcuts, but to realize that even if it's a slow process, that eventually we're going to get there and we're going to know that we have built a strong foundation getting there, even if it takes a little bit longer than trying to cut corners. So that's what I would say.
That's good. So if your integrity is there, your success may take a little longer than the next guy's, but when you get there, it's going to be solid because you things to build that foundation. That's good. I appreciate that. Matt, what would you say is the most underrated leadership quality, and you can't say integrity?
Right. Yeah. I mean, obviously I would agree with integrity, especially in youth ministry. We've seen a lot of youth pastors come and go, unfortunately, super high charisma, low character, and the way we've always heard it is like, charisma gets you in the door, but character will keep you there. And I think one of the things along with it, which I guess would be kind of my quality for being underrated, undervalued, would be humility. I think especially in our world, because we work with a lot of young leaders, especially I know I myself as a young leader, I thought I always had to have the answers. I always had to be right. I had to be like Johnny on the spot, like everything's together, like, no mistakes. So now fast forward, 10, 11, 12 years, I've got more experience, but I ask more questions. And so, especially leading young leaders, I'm in a field where I have more experience than they do, but I need their perspective on things to reach them. And so I have to humble myself because I've got experience of what they don't see, but they're in it. And so I need to be at a grassroots level, and that takes a lot of humility. And I see a lot of leaders, they won't do that. They have to keep up image, or they feel like they have to make all the decisions, or they have to have everything figured out. But I don't want to be that kind of person. I'd rather be someone who's like down there with them. I think Craig Rochelle always says, people would rather follow someone who's always real than always right. And that's something I've tried to live by, of just hearing what's going on amongst the people you're trying to reach or the people you're trying to lead so that you can most effectively lead them. Because I think sometimes leaders tend to separate themselves. Managers will separate themselves from the employees. And then you're disconnected from them. Then you can't relate, and then you can't effectively lead them. And so, yeah, I'd say being a humble leader is super underrated.
Yeah. Wow, that's really good. And the idea of you have the authority, you have the position to reach the youth, but you need the youth around you to have their input on the best way to do that. If you even be willing to say, hey, I need you in order to do the thing that I'm here to do. That, I think that's true humility. That's really good, guys. Thank you.
Thank you,
I think between integrity and humility, if we saw more of that in leaders today, we actually would have a little bit different of a landscape than we have out there. So those truly are some underrated leadership qualities.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, guys. Thanks for stopping by. For everyone else that's listening, that was gold. Hopefully something we've said today is going to impact the way you lead, and you can take some of those nuggets and use them in your own leadership. Well, that's it for us for this episode. You can always join us on iTunes and Stitcher. Don't forget to check back with us on leadingasleaders.com for additional content. And hopefully something we've said today helps you as you're leading as leaders. Thanks, everyone.